The more that you cold call for prolonged periods, the more you'll build your call stamina. And building call stamina is the way to find cold calling success. Hi guys, my name is Deepak Shukla, founder at Pearl Lemon Sales. We're a sales training and development company based in the UK as well as the USA, but serving clients worldwide. And today, in day 12 of 119 days of cold calling training, we're here to talk about building call stamina. But before we get into it, feel free to click the link below to get an additional 17 strategies not shared in this training. So fundamentally, you want to be able to expand the number of calls that you make and the time that you spend on calls on a daily basis. If you're not slowly getting that number to creep up, then you're going to have the problem of just not having the stamina to build momentum, to build repetition, to build, the strength to do this day in, day out. Cold calling is still an incredibly effective way to build your pipeline. Cold calling is still the way that you can have wonderful conversations with decision makers out of the gate who ordinarily just wouldn't respond via cold email. And cold calling is still the quickest way to have a 15-minute chat with a marketing director of, a 20,000 plus employee company. And call stamina is what you're going to need to be able to keep placing the calls until you land that big fish that you've been fishing for. So when you think about calls, we discussed Pomodoros, I believe, in Pomodoro Power as being the first way to start. And if you combine Pomodoros with volume, and this now being volume of Pomodoros, you can slowly creep that number up. So the fundamental here is that you need to ultimately measure your madness, because if you're not measuring your madness when it comes to call stamina, it's impossible to track. You don't know, how many calls did you place today? Was it 100 calls? Was it, how many calls was it altogether? So thinking about, ultimately the number of calls that you place, and it's a better measure if you're power dialing to do ultimately it based upon time. It's time spent on the phone. Your phone is what's going to be the machine that's going to make you money. So you need to use the dang thing. You need to use the damn phone. If you're not using the damn phone, then you're not going to build the core stamina necessary to get the levels of success that you're ultimately looking for. It's a really basic principle that's very difficult to actually stick, adhere, and institute, because it's just always challenging fundamentally to be on the phone when you get exhausted, you feel beat up, you had a bad day, you got a lot of no's, and the only way that you're going to become impervious to the rejections and the challenges of life is if you have game time. Okay, nothing is a replacement for game time. Not sitting on the bench, not analyzing from the stands, not reviewing the one of the tapes, none of that stuff. Okay, here you're here right now because of course you're here to learn everything you can about calling and cold calling day in, day out, week in, week out, in, month out, in, year out. And you could take any industry, any business that's basically B2B, even probably B2C. And if you start lighting up the phones, you can do really damn well. So that comes from stamina. That comes from get yourself to or working towards 4 hours per day of an 8 hour day spent placing calls. Okay. The other four is for admin, for proposals, for contracts, for whatever it might be that is non-call stuff. And ideally, the longer that you spend on the phone, the better you're going to be. And stamina, like anything, building stamina. What is it? For example, what does it mean to be able to eventually run an ultra marathon? What is the journey that you need to go through? What are the running reps that you need to put in? What are the breakdowns, the niggling injuries, the self-doubt, the questions, the actual impact it has upon your wider life that happens to get there, to get the accolade of being able to run over 100 miles, something that I'd like to do over the next year or two? What is it that you need to do to get to where you need to go? You need to build stamina, okay? And building called stamina, it's the Pomodoros, it's doing it in teams, it's doing it on a share screen, it's basically just doing whatever's necessary, doing what it takes to spend more and more time on the phone. And if you do that, then a lot of the other things will come into play, because it's very difficult to it's just difficult to, do Pomodoro Power, brute force precision, pace when cold calling, musical tonality when opening, if you're not building your call stamina. So get this right to ultimately get access to doing all of the other things well.
Remember, we've got 17 gated strategies just waiting for you. All you need to do is bing, subscribe, as well as click the link in the description below to get access to those 17. Get some.